It's time to go beyond the headlines, cause I don't put in overtime just so I can headline. Okay, now it's Fox Sports, I'm live with Renee. Going hard every day, sports rapping every play. Different segments for your favorites, coming at you daily with positive vibes, yeah, we some game changers. Basketball, football, soccer, with different interviews, you never know who may pop up. Listen, only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington.
It is time for our Positive Vibes Only segment this week on Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington. I've got Deidre Gaskins, a publicist with Maylee Media, joining the show. Welcome to the show, Deidre.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm so happy to have you on. And first of all, I have to ask, because I've been asking everyone, what is your new normal around COVID-19, especially since you just got married and just moved to DC?
Honestly, my normal has not been normal. I feel like this has been the busiest I've been because I was in DC, but then we moved back because his assignment got cut short. Now we're trying to move around in another part of Atlanta. So I have not been able to sit down the last month. So it's a lot, but it is weird. Like when I get out to run errands, oh, let me grab my mask, so usually it's just literally waking up, praying, and just trying to keep my business steady. And let's be honest, everybody's struggling right now. So it's just literally me checking on emails, trying to get my clients booked and all that stuff. But personal life, I'm literally running everywhere. So it's nothing normal. And then being in PR, you don't have normal days anyway. So
Nope. I love that because you've got Pray More, Worry Less behind you. And I feel like that fits perfectly with where you are right now in your life.
Yeah.
It's just hectic. And as you mentioned, a lot of people are having their whole world is flipped upside down. Like I feel like I'm a whole different person now than I was coming into the pandemic, right? It's just been so many changes in so many ways. Going out with a mask and gloves on, I'm like, I feel like I'm going, to war or something. It's so odd to step out and you can't just walk out your house normal now. You got to be thinking about all these other things. So congrats on all that you've got going on.
It's crazy. But thank you so much. It's been one hectic ride, but I'm grateful. I'm grateful.
Of course. It'll all get easier at some point.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Don't know when.
There's so much uncertainty going on, and my problem is I have a bad habit of this. I don't like change, especially when it's negative change. So just adapting and trying to realize I can't change anything around me is kind of like a weakness for me, but I'm just trying to get through it, girl.
I hear that. Yeah, this is tough for anybody that doesn't like change. This is a whole lot of changes.
Yeah.
So I want to hear more about the work that you do as a publicist and working in PR. That was actually my major for my undergraduate degree. Yes. I was a PR major and then switched and went more the broadcasting route. But, I definitely am curious. I know you have a large list of clients that you work with, a variety of clients. Tell us a little bit about who you are as a publicist and what you really do in terms of the clients that you're working in and the areas that you're working in.
Yeah, so I'm basically a sports and lifestyle publicist, but I've been in PR for over 10 years now. When I first started out, I was doing lifestyle, fashion, entertainment, beauty. I was pretty much everywhere. And what I came to notice is it basically detoured me away from what I really, really want to do, which is sports, because I played basketball and I ran track at the college level. But honestly, this is so goofy. How I got into PR. Do you remember the game with Tia Mowry and Pooch Hall?
Oh my gosh, yes.
That was my show. And so when Dion, Derwin's publicist, got introduced on camera, I was like, I want to do what she's doing because she's working with athletes and I'm no longer an athlete anymore. So I got into it just off that. So I majored in PR and I have a double major in film and video. Then I recently just got my master's in sports management. So I particularly work in sports and lifestyle. That's my niche. I don't want to, detour from that. My job as a publicist is to bring you exposure. A lot of people get PR and marketing confused. They work best when they're working together. However, PR is not marketing. Marketing is more sales driven, where PR is more exposure driven. So that means I'm getting you in the press, I'm booking the interviews, I'm getting you the TV segments, I'm getting you the interviews on radio and podcasts like this. I'm doing things that's going to generate exposure and publicity around your brand. And that's done through forms of media, even social media now, as well as influencers.
Yeah, that's a good point. I love that you made the distinction between marketing and PR, because I don't think enough people really understand that you have a different goal, a different end game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your focus on the clients that you're working with is different if you're working in PR versus marketing, where you are trying, it's more about the numbers and the sales and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you're trying to get more exposure, build those relationships, get your clients opportunities to get their name and their face out there. So tell us a little bit about also building your clients. I love that you made the game reference, because Deion was working with professional football players, the Sabres. That show was interesting, but it's so funny now that you mentioned it, because I'm like, that she did really glorify and show that this is a position. We don't see TV shows. We don't see anywhere where you really can see publicists, you know? So it's a position that you don't hear enough about. So I'm curious to know for you, how you even got started. Like, you know, I look at me in broadcasting, and there are people I can at least reach out to. There's kind of like a footprint in a sense of, you know, a path you can take. But I'm thinking as a publicist, I can't even imagine the getting started part, you know, like you've been working for years now, but looking back when you were first getting started and trying to figure out, where do I begin? How do I begin? And then trying to build your clients up. I got to hear about that. I mean, how you have a mentor? What really helped with that?
So before I even started my firm, I was interning and shadowing and volunteering anywhere that I could. And I feel like a lot of these young publicists, they are literally just out the gate trying to start their own firm without any experience, without any prior knowledge. So I was the type, if you give me a chance to basically prove my skill set and to add onto my resume, that was me. Like I was very hungry to get experience. So when I started out, I was working with a PR firm. I was interning everywhere I could. Then when I decided to branch out on my own, because the PR firm that I was working for, the founder passed away. And I felt like I just, you know, I don't have you anymore. I don't have your mentorship and all that stuff. So the company kind of went left. So I decided to start my own PR firm. And true enough, I wasn't charging what I'm charging now, like $2,000. Nobody knows me as a publicist. I was doing pro bono work. I was charging dirt cheap stuff just to get a clientele list together. And I think a lot of times people are afraid of that. But when you're starting out, I'm gonna be honest, nobody's gonna pay you $2,000, $3,000, especially if they don't know the work that you've done.
Absolutely not.
So of course I was doing pro bono. Of course I was doing like, here, give me 5 here, give me 6 here, give me 700 here, to do full campaigns. So when I started doing that, it was literally word of mouth. I've never had to like literally pitch a client. I think the one time I did it, it was always in conversation. It wasn't like, oh yeah, I want to represent you. It was like, I loved your YouTube video, teach me how to do this. And they realized I'm a publicist. I'm like, hey, I need a publicist. And you know what's frankly ironic is I was connected with Cheryl Swoops on LinkedIn, just telling her I was a fan, like, you know, thank you for the game. And ironically, she was like, I need a publicist. And she realized what I did. So it was never me going out to say, hey, I like what you're doing, let me represent you. It was always in conversation, basically giving people their credit to when it's due, right? So that's how I really been building my firm. And then now, especially with everything going on, I'm doing more DIY PR stuff, right? Like hosting this webinar. I have a course coming up this Saturday called Full Course Press, where I'm basically teaching you how to do your own PR. And I do a lot of speaking engagements, whether it was virtual or in person. I do a lot of one-on-ones. And then I also try to educate publicists in doing their job as well. So I think a lot of my clients, they just came from word of mouth, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, now you got me thinking I need a publicist. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm missing something.
Needs PR. Everybody needs PR.
Yes, I mean, I do a lot because I have a PR background, so I do a lot of promoting myself, but I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out at another time. But look, building your own firm, I mean, you talk about the transition from interning, pro bono work, getting your name out there, getting your face out there and connecting with people, to now building your own firm. So I'm curious to know, you know, when you first thought up Maylee Media, you know, how did that name come about? How did it come about? Like, it's time for me to shift and build my own versus now working for other people.
Yes. So when the founder passed of the PR firm I was working for, I was just very heartbroken. I was very lost. And I was looking to work in corporate. Let me be clear. I was not the type to, hey, I must be my own boss. I see that very trending now. And I'm trying to say that is a God-called mission because I wanted to go in corporate America and collect my corporate check. Okay.
I hear that.
But honestly, I didn't know what to call my firm when I said, okay, well, I'll just start my own business. I'll just start freelancing because people that I was working with still wanted to work with me. But at the time, I didn't have my own firm. So just coming up with a name, I was trying to incorporate my name in it. And then, if you know, my grandmother raised me, and I'm like, what would May Lee do? And then I'm like, May Lee Media. So I named my firm after my grandmother. And it was more than just honoring her. If you really knew my grandmother, and I'm not saying this because she's my baby, but what I'm saying is she never met a stranger. Like, it's been times I come home, she has a full cooked meal, and it was for either the neighbors or some gangbangers down the street or some animal. Like, she literally would be cooking for stray dogs. Like, she never met a stranger. And that's what I incorporate in PR, because you know PR is all about building relationships. So I named my company after her, and I really wanted to tie into that family-oriented business because, as you know, moms knows best, and where do they get it from? Their grandmothers. So that's what I wanted to incorporate in my business. So just finding that name, I'm glad that, you know, I asked myself that question, what would May Lee Media do? Because I see a lot of times people name stuff after themselves, and I tell people this all the time. If my firm was named after myself, I would have quit a long time ago. So she's kind of the inspiration while I'm still going, because it's hard. But she's definitely my inspiration.
Wow, that is incredible. And that's a good point you make. It like there's more value to your firm now. It's not just, you know, all about you. It's about someone that's been so inspirational to you and your grandmom and all that she's helped you to, you know, want to do and aspire to do. So you talk about you're working with Sheryl Swoopes, who I know growing up, I loved watching Sheryl Swoopes. But you know, what's really next for you as you're building your clientele, you're continuing to expand. Of course, you're doing a lot personally, but professionally, what's really next for you?
For me or for Sheryl?
For you. As you continue to grow, you have, I mean, getting a client like Sheryl Swoopes is huge. So now expanding and continuing to build off of, I mean, all your clients that you have and expand and grow. What's really next for May Lee Media and for you to really take that next step as a publicist to be more like Dion?
Yeah. So basically, this past last year, I really started to rebrand the sports PR side because I haven't done sports in years. Because like I said, I got detoured. But my next step is to really kind of capitalize off of the Sheryl Swoopes and really build her. That way I can bring in more WNBA and NBA clients. So I really want to start focusing on being that sports publicist because it's not a lot of Black women in sports PR. Like the D-Wade, that stuff, they don't have, you know, Black women behind them, even Jordan. And I love his team, but it's not a lot of us in sports PR. So I really want to really set the tone for that. I know I have a lot to learn, but I think for me, it's just really, really going into the sports segment as well as lifestyle, because I don't want to forget my small business. It's just really just diving into sports. Even though sports are kind of gone, I still want to be able to build and give these athletes hope and even training them on how to stay relevant during a pandemic, right? So that's really my goal for the next year or so. And hopefully I can build and build and build to where I'm getting corporate contracts, okay?
I know that's right.
Yeah, so that's pretty much my goal. And of course, I want to keep the courses coming because a lot of times people don't really, like you said, don't know what PR is. But if they took a course to really see what I need, then that's something that I want to keep doing as well.
That's awesome to also have that outreach piece where you are helping to teach and, you know, give other people some, I'm sure, some great insight and advice on the career since you are farther along than they may be. So where can our listeners follow you to get more on what you've got going on and to see all the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so my website is Maylee Media, MAYLEE media.com. Of course, we're on all social media except Snapchat. I refuse to download that app. I only like Snapchat for the filters. I feel like when you do social media for a living, if one more app comes out, I'm gonna cry.
I feel that.
But we're on Facebook and Instagram, and then I'm on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram at Deidre Gaskin or Deidre Pallode. On still Deidre Pallode on Twitter because Deidre Gaskin is taken, but Deidre Gaskin, y'all know, right? And that count is like really, it's suspended. So I'm like, well, y'all just might as well let me have it.
Yeah, like just remove it. And then you have to be creative and put an underscore or a number. And
I hate that just because I'm very cautious of brand consistezy. Yes. I hate it. So what I might end up doing is putting a number or something behind it.
Or PR.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. The little things, right?
I know, right?
But look, thank you so much, Deidre, for joining the show. It's been a pleasure having you on. I'm excited to see what's next for you. I think as you talk about with having Sheryl Swoopes on and really all these changes you have going on, I'm sure it's all working out in your favor. So I'm excited to see as you continue to level up and grow, which direction you go. And I honestly am serious about needing a publicist. So
well, girl, listen, you got my number. We're going to stay connected and we're going to work it out.
Yes. Y'all gonna start seeing all my stuff pop up everywhere, and it's gonna be
Deidre. Yes. Let's make it happen. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Thank you for joining our Positive Vibes only segment here on Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington. All the best. Stay safe. And I look forward to seeing what you got going on in the future.
Yes, ma'am. Bye. Thank you.